Do you and your partner fight over money? Is there no common language for you when it comes to the dinner time conversations about money, finances, budgeting, what you spent your money on, what he spent his money on, where you spend your money together on, what the kids are spending their money on? If you are having trouble talking about money in your family, and let's face it, over 60% of people say that divorce is caused by money and finance issues, then this is something that you need to rectify. I have a very, very special guest with me today. We're going to be talking about all the money archetypes that she's uncovered through this amazing process that she runs, and we're going to go through it all. So you might be a romantic, you might be a nurturer, accumulator, or a maverick, or a ruler. Well, stay tuned and we will find out more. Right now, let's head over to the credits.
It's the First Home Buyers Show, where first home buyers go to watch their wealth grow. And here's your host, Jane Slack-Smith.
Hello, and welcome to the First Home Buyer Show. But obviously, this is just as available information for everyone. And I have a very, very special guest here, Natalie Manushenko. Hello, how are you? And welcome all the way from Colombia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jane. I love being here with you and your audience today. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I have to say that we got to know each other earlier in the year. We missed each other at Mind Valley University in Estonia last year, but we managed to catch up when you were in Australia. How did you find Australia?
I loved it. It was a fantastic trip. As you know, we spent a month traveling around. Gorgeous country. Just got to see a sliver in a month, but you know, just means we have to go back.
Absolutely. Well, I had the amazing fortune of attending one of the masterclasses that Natalie ran here in Melbourne way back in January. And look, it really was amazing. I brought my whole team along and they had some really, changing ways of how they talked about money at home and how they thought about money themselves. Now, obviously, this is the First Home Buyer Show, but this information is so relevant to so many people. So if you're not a first home buyer, hang in there, because this is really good information for you as well. Now, the thing that I really want you to, get from this entire conversation that's going to go for the next 40, 45 minutes is working out what the money archetype you are and how you can facilitate better conversations with yourself and others around money. So without further ado, we're going to launch straight into Natalie's presentation. I'm just going to bring that up, Natalie, so that we can have a chat about it. But I think it's really important that we have the opportunity to, look at all of the things that are keeping us back from saving money and look at the opportunities that we have. And it all comes down to knowing your money archetype. Now, if you are listening, please let us know where you are as you hear what archetype we're going through. Maybe you could type in and tell us what you think you might be. And we also have the survey that we'd love for you to do. So let me just pull that up. If you go and type in money, M-O-N-E-Y, underneath this video, we will get you a copy of this survey. And look, it doesn't take very long to go through it. It gives you, a couple of the questions that's really going to uncover the money archetype that you are. And once you work out those, we start talking about the top three. So head over there and check out your money archetypes. I think it's really important that you can do that. And without further ado, we are going to head straight into our presentation with Natalie. So Natalie, let's get into it and we'll go from there.
Sounds great. Let's get going. So, all right, you want me to introduce myself? So, yes, I am.
I can introduce you. How about that?
All right, that sounds good. I know. I was like, wait a minute. Tooting my own horn.
It's always embarrassing when you introduce yourself. Look, Natalie Manushenko, graduated from one of the top business schools in America. She had an incredible corporate career, and she worked with the World Bank. She's a mum of 3. She's in an amazing relationship. They love traveling. She and her family have these incredible, as you just heard, month-long holidays in Australia, but have an amazing lifestyle. She's based now in Colombia. She's a certified leadership and life coach and a certified sacred money archetype coach. And since 2001, she kind of threw that corporate career away, and she started to work with thousands of other soulful go-getters who are really, driven to create, wealth and happiness in their businesses and careers, and manifest abundance and create the life that they love, which is an amazing goal for any of us. Major life changes followed her. She's now obviously following her purpose, her passion, and living on her own terms. And as she says, she's a traveler, an adventurer, and her 3 top money archetypes are the accumulator, the alchemist, and the connector. So over to you, Natalie. Let's go in and have a bit of a chat about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so today we're going to go through this quick. There's a lot of info in there, but we're going to find out what are the sacred money archetypes, what are the benefits of knowing them, why does it matter, what are sacred money contracts, and how to use basically your unique money personality to make the most out of your gifts and overcome your challenges, and how to get more alignment with money, with life, with relationships, with your business and career.
Perfect. Okay, so let's jump straight into that. I guess the thing that we really need to know is, what does this whole sacred money archetype thing mean?
Yeah, basically, it's just a typical pattern of dealing with money. This system was developed by a brilliant woman. Her name is Kendall Summerhawk, and I studied with her and was licensed to administer this work. And Jane, the quiz that you showed everybody, it takes about 10 minutes to do, and it's uncanny, how in those 10 minutes you really get your sacred money archetypes. There's 8 of them, and you get to see where they stack up in order, and your top 3 ones really influence how you are with money. Not to mention that, as Kendall says, how you do money is how you do everything. So the sacred money archetypes really give you a lot of insights into how you manage a lot of things in your life. And, the reason that's important is, first of all, knowledge is power, right? Self-awareness. There's no better archetypes, or although it may seem like that when I go through them, they're not. There truly are gifts and challenges to all of them. And what we get with this knowledge is we can really use our gifts to create more abundance in our life, and we can minimize our challenges when we're really clear on what they are, right? And find ways to turn them into opportunities. And as you mentioned at the beginning, we often fight about money with our nearest and dearest and our business partners. And really having this information allows us to create more of a team where we can bring our gifts to the table and minimize our challenges, and really appreciate the strength that each other brings, as opposed to fight about it.
So if you have ever had a disagreement with your partner about money, let me know. Jump into the comments and just say, yes, I have, because I think it's really one of the most powerful conversations that you're going to have. And often a lot of us don't have that conversation prior to marriage. We go into marriage and then all of a sudden find that we might have a difference of opinion about saving. So that's why I think this having a common term, or having a platform that you can actually have a discussion around money, is so important. And that's why I really wanted to go through these archetypes. So just how many archetypes are there?
So there's 8 sacred money archetypes: the accumulator, the alchemist, the celebrity, the connector, the maverick, the nurturer, the romantic, and the ruler. And we're going to super briefly go through all of them. And I bet you're going to recognize yourself as you go through them.
Exactly. And when you do the survey, the top 3 are going to come up. Do you often find that there is a large space between these, or are they very similar in number?
It can be anything. Sometimes they're really closely linked together. Sometimes there's a real disparity. The way I like to think about it is, think of the 8 archetypes as a board of directors in your head, right? And their voting rights depend on how high your number is. So if they're all pretty close together, they all get, pretty much the same vote and the same say in how you spend your money, how you save your money, and all the rest of it. But usually there's a disparity, and that's where you can really see like, oh, this one's running the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just as a heads up, it's really a good idea. Print out 2 copies of this and give one to your partner as well.
Yes. It's so illuminating. I've had so many couples say, oh my God, now I get it, while we've been fighting. Because the truth is, we all, we deal with money based on our own natural personality and preferences, but also a lot of it has to do with how we were raised, right? And at some level, we think our way is the right way with money, like we do with everything else, right? So what do we do with relationships? We tend to kind of fight for what we think is the right way. And what's beautiful about this system is you really get to see how each person's way has its strengths and its challenges. Like there is no right way. It's really a matter of working together to maximize your combined strengths and minimize your challenges.
Well, and I guess that's the important thing, as you say, it's not about saying who's right and wrong, because I think anyone who's in anticipation like I am for the next Top Gun movie would like to think they're a bit of a maverick. But when it comes to money, there's some positives and negatives, which we'll get into. But it's good to see that the way that this is kind of classified is there's strengths and challenges for each. So we'll jump straight into those. Now, there's something that we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail in. Natalie has got a very reasonable course. As I said, I spent a whole day with her in a masterclass, and she has a great little online course that I know a lot of people in our community previously have taken the advantage of and jumped in. But it goes into a whole lot more detail around this, what a sacred money contract is too. We're going to have a look at that just for the first archetype. But if you want to give us a real clarity about what that means.
Well, basically, this isn't meant to be all spiritual unless you are spiritually inclined. But the bottom line is, according to Kendall, your sacred money contract is what your soul came here to learn, using money as its vehicle for growth. Another way to look at it is, how you do money is how you do everything. Money is such a powerful force in our society that it tends to push our buttons. It tends to really take center stage, whether we avoid it or want more of it. It's there. And money is just a wonderful tool to use for personal growth and for self-actualization and to basically be all that we can be.
Exactly. Well, let's jump straight into the archetypes. Now, as I said, if you put money into the comments below, we're going to be sending you the survey. If you haven't seen the survey, jump straight into it and get it. Do the survey, give it to your partner as well. And really, when we're talking about the archetypes that you need to be concentrating on, it's these top 3 that come out, 1, 2, and 3. And also, we'll bring up number 8 as well, I think, which is being aware of where there's some opportunities for improvement too. Yeah. So let's jump into these, Natalie.
Yes, so let's start off with the first one. And by the way, they're in alphabetical order, even though accumulators might often think they're the best. And I have to say, my top archetype is actually accumulator.
Me too. Hashtag me too.
Yes. So your accumulator is your inner banker. If accumulator is one of your top 3, chances are you're great at managing money, saving money, rarely carry debt, and really are careful to live below your means. In fact, you may feel anxious or worried or even greatly reluctant to spend money. And you might judge others for their money habits. So all accumulators in relationship, remember, you tend to think you're the best. And I can say that because I'm an accumulator too. And you might be driven to save out of fear of being dependent or losing personal freedom.
And I think when we look at this, we also then look at the strengths and the gifts and the challenges together as well.
Yeah, so important because again, as an accumulator, your strengths are that you're really financially responsible, disciplined, trustworthy, and conscientious. That saving and living within your means comes easily, or rather you just can't imagine and really stress out if it's any other way. And you're really good at creating financial independence. But then on the other hand, the challenges of the accumulator could be limiting the investment that's necessary for your growth or happiness, a lack of faith and trust that there'll be enough, feeling guilt, worry, or doubt about spending and investing. And actually, if you could just humor me for a second here, just to give you a little kind of personal anecdote that I think really illustrates this so that everybody watching can really get why these work, right? Is so when I studied this work myself and realized I was an accumulator, I quickly realized how, I was limiting my business growth because I was trying to do everything, I was doing that because I didn't feel like I could afford to spend money on help. So instead I was working like crazy, doing everything, even like IT stuff and stuff I knew nothing about and really hated, and was getting really burned out in my business, not to mention not that much money was coming in. When I realized this, and because that's part of what we get into when we work with the archetypes more in depth in the course, for instance, the action item was to actually invest in my business. And I hired someone 20 hours a week to help me out. And wouldn't you know it, my business just took off because someone else was doing the grunt work to me, what was to me the grunt work, that I hated. And instead it freed me up because I'm also a connector, which we'll get through soon, which means my gifts are getting out there and connecting with people and talking to people. And so doing what I love, I brought in all this business and my business just took off. And so that's just one example of how knowing your archetypes and, working with them can really, take your financial life to a whole different level.
So if this sounds like you and you think you're an accumulator and you haven't done the survey, just put accumulator in there against your name because you can come back and check later when you've done the survey so that you can check in. But I mean, as Natalie said, I did the exact same thing. I'm an accumulator. It's my number one. And I find myself having a conversation with my 12-year-old son. When we go shopping, he's saved all this money and he gets to, get the toy that he wants. I'm like, do you really want to spend your money? Do you really want to do that? And he's like, yeah, I've been planning for this. I'm like, well, you could save for something bigger. And I realized when I did this course that I was actually applying my standards onto him. And he had his entire plan of what he wanted to do and save. And I was guilting him out of some of these purchases sometimes. And he was really quite upset about it because he is not an accumulator. I hate to say, but it really made me aware of the conversations that I was having. So now let's move on to, and as I said, we're not going to do the sacred money contract for all of the 8, but I would like Natalie just to run through what this means. And when you actually, and if you choose to join her in the course, and we've got a special offer for those people who are going to do that in 2019, but what I found about the sacred contract, Natalie, it was allowed me to pull together the strength and the challenge that I had, and something that I could have that conversation in my own head about.
Yeah, absolutely. And what many people have told me who've taken this course is that actually knowing their sacred money archetypes makes decisions easy for them, right?
Yeah.
So for instance, as an accumulator, my sacred money contract is to respect the power of money by investing to create freedom. Because my primary motivator is freedom. That's what accumulators want. They're afraid of being dependent and tied down. But it's remembering that you got to invest to create that freedom. That's bringing in that challenge. And so when I'm faced with a decision like, do I spend, on something that feels a little risky or scary to me, but God, it would just be so freeing not to have to do this. I say yes. And then each time I watch the results just, take off.
And just, using that investment that you made in getting the technical help of someone else, is something that I relate to too. I remember sitting into it in a conference and someone in the room said, there's the person who was leading the course said, there's someone in the room who loves doing the thing that you hate.
Yes.
And I was like, bookkeeping, who would love that? And I must have looked really, really confused because the guy said, well, what's the thing that you hate the most? And I was like, bookkeeping. And he said, does anyone in this room love bookkeeping? And 3 people put their hands up and they're like, yeah, we could do your bookkeeping for you. And I was like, wow, this is insane. So yeah, investing to give yourself freedom definitely makes sense to me. So, well, let's move on to the next one, The Alchemist. Now, this sounds a little bit sexy. Tell me about this.
Yes, well, The Alchemist is that's one of my top 3 as well, so I know it instantly. The Alchemist is your inner idealist. The alchemists tend to be attracted to unconventional alternative ways of making money and attracted easily. Now, I don't mean anything shady here. I just mean that, a 9-to-5 job and kind of a stable, might not be the alchemist thing. Because alchemists tend to care more about social justice and making a difference in the world than about making money. In fact, they often have a love-hate relationship with money because they appreciate what money can do, but kind of resent its importance. And alchemists might find themselves relying on others for financial support and inwardly feeling vulnerable or insecure about making money.
Interesting. And the strengths and challenges?
Yeah, so the alchemist's strengths are being idealistic, transformational, and daring, generating ideas and seeing possibilities, really championing others and empowering them to believe in themselves. Whereas challenges could be relying on others for financial support, feeling judgmental about money, and even rebelling against creating money goals or habits because, it's like not sexy,
Yeah, and I think when we did the workshop together, there was a lady in that workshop, very successful, socially orientated business. She runs a business, got many employees, but she was in the workshop because she had relinquished all the power of money management to her husband, and he was like, "I'll just do the budget." And I don't know if you recall, I know you speak to thousands of people, but she found it really such a transformation and taking some action steps away from it, going, I'm actually going to ask about the budget and how we manage our money because I have no idea.
Well, here's the thing, right? Our challenges with money often leave us feeling disempowered.
Yeah.
I know we're not getting into the sacred money card trick for the alchemist, but that, for instance, you bring up that piece of it. The alchemist kind of soul contract is to find empowerment through money, which means actually getting in there, figuring out what the money is being spent on, how it's being used, getting involved with the budget. It might not be comfortable. It might not be, where the alchemist wants to go, but it's ultimately what the alchemist needs for empowerment. And again, I say that as a fellow alchemist.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So let's move on to the next, the celebrity.
Yes, the celebrity is
anyone really identifies with this as Natalie goes through it. So the celebrity, the inner big shot.
Yes. So celebrities have charismatic personalities and love to stand out from the crowd and impress people. Now, celebrities might value money as a tool to achieve status, to enhance their image, to gain recognition, and really spend money to enhance their image. Celebrities might often project an image of wealth and success that might not match your bank account. And you might be showing off your wealth as a way to protect yourself from negative opinions and judgments of others. It's the quintessential getting, the designer clothing or the designer handbags or, the fancy cars when perhaps your bank account does not really justify you doing that, right?
Yeah.
So the celebrity's strengths are that they're magnetic, confident, radiant, and stand out in the crowd. They're natural leaders, and they really are good at helping others stand out as well. But their challenges might be valuing status above financial security, compulsive spending, and spending on appearance to avoid feeling empty or criticized.
And I think one of the interesting things about this is that, once again, we had a chat to someone in the weekend, and they were saying, "Oh my God, that's my husband completely. I'm an accumulator, and this is my husband." Like, how do you have that conversation with your partner if they're the spender and the one who always pays for the dinners and everything, and you're at home going, "How are we going to get the kids to the school excursion?"
Yeah, well, I mean, I really think that taking this quiz and watching this video or, downloading my free masterclass, which is basically what we're covering now, just a little bit more expanded, is a great place to start, because first you're looking at your gifts and strengths right there. And then, I mean, you basically need to come to some agreements, right? Because underneath all that, right, like the accumulator's freaking out because how are we going to pay for all this? And because it's so important for the accumulator to have a safety net and to know you're living within your means. Whereas the celebrity is like, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter. Money's going to come. It's all good. We've got to enjoy life now. And I mean, it's like any relationship or any partnership. Armed with this information, it's coming up with a plan of meeting each other's needs, right? So maybe the celebrity agrees to first, you know, pay for the bills and whatever else and put away some money in a savings account for a nest egg. And then they can spend, and maybe the accumulator agrees to let go of the reins a bit. And, you know, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, you know, with a certain amount a month, like where you agree that celebrity can go out and spend it on anything, even if you later think it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter, because the celebrity needs that space to spend, and the accumulator needs the safety of knowing that, you know, the bills are going to be paid and that the savings account is growing. Again,
and I mean, thinking about that, when we looked at the accumulator, one of those challenges was feeling guilty about spending money. So if they had a partner who was always spending money, they have that sense of guilt and feeling, you know, out of control. So by having an agreement that says, look, I recognize you're a celebrity and you need this. You recognize I'm an accumulator and I need this. I'm willing to let you go about do this with no guilt and no judgment, but there's only this much a month. So it makes sense how these conversations can really flow. So
absolutely. And it gives you a framework so that it doesn't get out of hand, right? Because all of these conversations, and money is a huge one that triggers people's, you know, needs for autonomy, for independence, for safety. I mean, just really, you know, deep core things. So it could quickly get super emotional and out of hand, and everybody's pissed off and conversation has stopped, you know. So that's what I love about the system, is it gives you a framework to talk about it respectfully and really looking at how do we meet each other's needs, as opposed
Perfect. Well, let's move on to the connector. So tell us a bit about the connector.
Okay, my other top three. So the connector is your inner relationship creator. The connector is really great, obviously, at connecting with people. And these connections can help you create long-term relationships that generate income, right? So connectors just naturally connect. They're not connecting to make money, but it's important to realize that for a connector, most likely their wealth, their career choice, they're going to be at their best when they have the opportunity to connect with people. I mean, I know it sounds basic, but there's so many connectors who are, say, behind a computer all day long, right? Not the best place for a connector. Because connectors really care more about heart-to-heart connections than making money. And they often feel like they have to choose between one and the other. Often they wish they didn't even have to think about money and just are happy to leave someone else to make the financial decisions for them. They might even avoid facing their own money situation, just hoping it'll improve on its own, you know, the kind of ostrich sticking its head in the sand.
Fingers crossed, it will all work out.
Yes. But again, the connector's strengths are that they don't get overly stressed about money. They have a faith and optimism that money will always be there and financial problems will work out. There's almost an innocence, a trust, and a resilience that connectors feel. And they're really great at creating valuable relationships, you know, relationships that lead to business, to prosperity. Now, the challenges of the connector could be a lack of financial independence and needing to be taken care of financially, not feeling empowered about money, not even wanting to think about it, and just feeling overwhelmed with financial details.
Wow. I mean, great to be connected with a connector, but a challenging relationship if you're on the different spectrum, which could possibly be the maverick, right?
Yes, yes. Although, as we'll get into a little bit later, there are ways for all of these to coexist. Because think about
Yeah.
it, I'm both an accumulator and a connector. That
Mm.
board of and they're very close together, my top three in numbers. They're like 1 point apart. So my board of directors is often fighting it out, right? Not unlike what happens in relationships. So mavericks are your inner rebel with a cause. So mavericks are really attracted to unconventional ideas and willing to take financial risks in exchange for potential big win. I mean, basically, mavericks can just really handle the ups and downs, easy come, easy go. They have courage and tenacity when it comes to generating income and really like being rebellious and showing what they're made of. Mavericks are always looking at how to gain financial advantage, meaning, how can I make money from this? And they're really great at paying attention to numbers and the ups and downs. They're pretty financially savvy.
And I guess I am a maverick, complete disclosure here. So if you're watching this on the replay and you find out you're a maverick, hands up, let me know you're a maverick too. But I'm also an accumulator, and these are really close for me, as an accumulator and a maverick. And as we know, mavericks have their own challenges as well. So being out there, someone who wants to accumulate money, but also being a bit of a risk taker, I can get that over in my own mind by thinking, well, I know how to evaluate risk, so I can make that work for me. So let's go through the strengths and challenges of the maverick.
Yeah, so mavericks are clever, creative in generating money, and comfortable with taking risks. They're great at structuring deals and handling financial complexity and paying attention to numbers and financial details. On the challenges of the mavericks, could be gambling with financial security because balance isn't valued and it's not exciting, right? Or creating situations of extreme highs and lows which the maverick can tolerate, but perhaps nobody else, neither their business partners nor their partners or spouses can tolerate, and saying no to the tried and true that already works just because it's not exciting, it's been done before. I need to do something new and different.
Creating something a bit risky just because it's available for you to do that, even though everyone else has already proven the point on how things can work. So let's move on to the nurturer. Now, this is my number 3, and just like you, my 1, 2, and 3, the accumulator, maverick, and nurturer are within a point of each other. So very, very close, and always fighting it out in my head of who's going to have the chairman's position on the board of directors.
Absolutely. So your nurturer is your inner sponsor. Nurturers have huge hearts, are very generous, nurturing, and responsible with their personal finances. Nurturers really appreciate money, but they often overgive and attract people who need their help financially and otherwise. Nurturers may find it difficult to set boundaries, charge what they're worth, and can even compromise their financial stability to help others. And nurturers may also create emotionally entangled, dependent financial relationships and wind up feeling resentful because what they give isn't being reciprocated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, many people have nurturer as their top archetype. And so again, the strengths are giving, devoted, reliable, loyal, and generous, with a strong desire to be of service, to help, to protect, and to nurture. But the challenges could be feeling the need to rescue and creating enabling relationships and problematic boundaries leading to resentment and martyrdom. And actually,
sorry, go on. I was going to say, it made me think of a situation when I was at university. I was saving and saving and saving for a car stereo. And, it was something that was on the plan. I was putting a bit of money away. And I got to my sister got a car, and she said, look, I really need a car stereo and I want this car stereo. So I bought it for her. It was the exact same car stereo that I'd saved for months for myself, and I gave it to her. And then I started feeling, as she said, a little bit resentful, like, and she had no idea what was going on. But I was thinking, I was being a very good person and giving it to her and, getting the halo. Whereas I sat back and went, wait a second, I've just spent 8 months trying to save for the same stereo myself. So I can see those challenges coming up quite obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And the little story I wanted to share with you is a couple that I worked with. Well, initially I was working with the wife who came to me, and we did this work around money. And I mean, she'd been with her husband for 20 years, and she had it, because it turns out, nurture was one of her top. Um, and so she was very supportive of her husband, who was a off the charts maverick, right? I mean,
Right.
highs and lows, like creating all these businesses. And they literally had times in their life where they had, just millions and millions and millions of dollars, and, were completely living it up, and times where they didn't have money to pay the electrical bill or the
Yeah.
kids' school fees. And she could not stand it. She was fed up. But because nurture was one of our top archetypes, she really enabled this behavior by putting, kind of her husband's needs and his desires for, the excitement and the risk above her own need for just security and knowing that the electrical bill was going to get paid. And so part of what we worked on is really empowering her to honor her needs
Yeah.
and honor kind of her strengths as a nurturer, but also her challenges, so that, she could get clear on what she needed, which is enough money to get all the bills paid, money in the savings account, knowing that all that was taken care of. And then with the excess, he can go play, start businesses, make it all, lose it all. And they were actually able to understand this and work it out. And it literally saved their marriage. So,
Yeah, and I mean, as we said before, over 60% of marriages or relationships kind of break down over money. If you can have the conversation and understand where each other are coming from, then, it all makes sense. So I really encourage you, go and type, who we got here? We've got Peter has put his money in the thing, Carolina, Stephen. Tell us, guys, if you are identifying with any of these archetypes as you're going through, and type money in below, and we'll get you a copy of the survey so that you can work out what you are. And I encourage you to do it with your partners as well. Now, we're going to move on to the next one, which is the romantic. Now, this sounds lovely.
yes, yes. So the romantic is your inner hedonist. Romantics love the finer things in life, and they often buy things to feel gratification and spend money on things because they feel like, wow, I deserve this. They often don't see the point of saving money, as life is to be enjoyed, and they indulge themselves to feel special, appreciated, loved, or valued, and often spoil the people that they love, while avoiding making changes in their money behavior, even if it would benefit them.
Aha, always good to have one of those around.
That's
Someone
right.
to spoil.
Spoil me. So if you're a romantic, chances are your strengths are that, you're pleasure seeking, abundant, luxuriant, you are generous with others, and you believe that there will always be more, and truly enjoy the things that money can buy. However, your challenges might be ignoring and avoiding anything to do with finances, flamboyant spending, and spending to mask feeling undeserving, unappreciated, or unloved.
And I guess this is one of those things where, that generosity of spirit being measured against the fact that, you do have a problem in maybe spending too much money. And that could really, be something that you need to address as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's keeping you from, having the wealth and the financial security that you want.
Okay, and we have the ruler.
Yes, I think this is our last one, right?
Yep.
So the ruler is your inner empire builder. Rulers are visionary, natural, and passionate leaders who people really want to follow, and rulers love empowering people and enriching lives. However, rulers might never feel satisfied that they've made enough or achieved enough, and are continually challenging themselves to achieve higher financial goals and higher goals in general. If you're a ruler, chances are your business or your career dominates most of your time and attention, and you often overwork and defer happiness to the future because you fear losing control of your money, your power, or your identity.
Right. And the strengths and challenges of the ruler.
Yeah, so rulers are courageous, decisive, visionary, and determined. They are great at creating an empire where everyone thrives, and they're really good at innovating new and exciting growth opportunities. I mean, rulers have a lot going on. However, rulers might not indulge in enjoying life in the moment. They're always chasing a moving money target and never feel like there's enough. And, if you're a ruler, chances are the people closest to you complain a lot that you work too much, that you're not there enough with them, So basically balancing this need for achievement with other things in life is what's often a challenge to the ruler.
Well, I'm going to cheat now. I did say I was only going to show one money contract, but let's have a look at the ruler's contract and how that might manifest for them in their lives.
Yes. So the ruler's sacred money archetype contract, is to innovate, achieve, and create wealth with grace and ease. So again, as you can tell, it's balancing their strength, which is innovating, achieving, and creating wealth, but really working on the challenges, which is allowing it to happen with grace and ease. Because rulers tend to feel like they've got to control everything, right? And if they're not controlling every step of the process, it's all gonna, fall apart. And thus they overwork and aren't maybe as present for their family members as family members would like them to be, and just don't enjoy life as much. And so that's the invitation to the ruler, is to do what they do best, but with grace and ease, letting up, trusting, finding great people to work with, and then empowering them to do their jobs and, stop the controlling and the managing, so that you, ruler, can have your cake and eat it too, have all that success, but actually enjoy it.
Or have time to enjoy it. Tell me this, with these sacred contracts, is this something that someone would kind of say to themselves as a mantra in the morning, or pin up in their diary or on their wall? Or where do you see people using these contracts?
Absolutely. I mean, it's great to have it present. And like I said, where I find it super useful is especially in making decisions, right? And so, when you're, as a ruler, when you have to choose, okay, do I leave now or do I stay and work 3 more hours? Like my partner, my partner's asked me to come home, but I really need this. And then I think back to my sacred money card and I'm like, okay, grace and ease, grace and ease. I'm going to turn off this laptop and I'm going to go home and I'm going to spend some time with my loved ones.
No, that's great. Well, look, I hope you've had some aha moments here, because it really, for me, having spent a whole day with Natalie and working on this, and I know, I brought my PA Diana along, and she had this revolutionary kind of, oh my goodness, I've, left all the money management to my husband, and she really got involved. And it was funny, she only said to me last week, so this is now like 10 months since the workshop we did with you, she was keeping all her money in envelopes, because she was like, I'm going to budget and I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to do that. And it really empowered her. And when she got to the point where her daughter needed to have a laptop for school or an excursion or something, she had the money already there. So it wasn't a worry and a problem. And it wasn't a problem that her husband had to deal with by himself either. They were doing it together. So only now she's moved away from the envelope system. So there's not money being carried around. So if you're listening to this, can't try to mug her, because she hasn't got the cash on her anymore. But it really gave her a lot of clarity. So I'm hoping, for those of you who may be saving for your deposit for your first home, or saving for a special need or something, or just having some, money discussions at home that are not going the way that you think they should do, and it is a source of tension, I'm hoping that you've got some aha moments out of this. So let's just move on. I guess I'd love to hear a bit about this, how these archetypes work together, and going on to the next phase.
Yeah, so when you think about them, really think about, what are your top 3 after you take the quiz, and even what's your lowest? Because here's the thing with your lowest, it has the least voting rights on that board of directors. So chances are you're not suffering from the challenges of it, but you're not availing yourself to the strengths of it either. Like, for instance, celebrity is my lowest, which might seem great. I drive an old Chevy because I really don't care as long as it gets me from point A to point B. I don't spend on status symbols, which, to the accumulator in me is like, great, why throw away money? But I don't know but a celebrity's strengths are to be out there, to inspire people to shine. And for years, I didn't want to get out there so much. I literally kept my business smaller and how much I was able to serve people because I shied away from the spotlight. And once I learned about this system, I realized, oh my God, my celebrity is really low. So great, I don't have to run out and buy a BMW, but I do need to challenge myself to get out there and be more comfortable in the spotlight so I can make the impact that I want to make. And so when you think about how your archetypes work together, literally think about your top 3 and your lowest one, and if they were having a conversation between them. In fact, once you know the system, you'll start noticing that conversation. You know how the accumulator wants to save, and the alchemist is like, I just want to change the world, and the connector's like, oh, but it's all about people. And you start noticing, like, how do you make decisions? And just like in a couple, you can really maximize the strengths while minimizing the challenges. You can do the same thing for yourself. Literally take the strengths of all of your archetypes and then plan, to mitigate the challenges.
Well, we've got Emily here who's joined us, and Andre as well. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. Just as a reminder, type money below because we want to get you a copy of this Sacred Money Types survey. I really suggest that you do it not just for yourself, but your partner. And it's a really worthwhile exercise for you to do. Now, let's move on to how people can use all of these things and I guess live to their full potential by understanding this.
Yeah, so basically, I think, it's probably clear by now how you can really use your sacred money archetypes to increase abundance in every area of your life, to utilize your strength, to minimize your challenges, to challenge yourself to live into your sacred money contract, to make decisions more easily, it also, is a way to help you uncover your passion and purpose. Like I said, connectors are not meant to be, behind their computer most of the time. And more than anything, really creating more harmony and understanding in your relationships, both personal and your work teams. Because, by the way, we've been focusing more on personal relationships, but the same thing happens in work teams. We really have different ways of seeing money, like spending, taking risks, innovation, all these pieces, because how you do money is how you do everything.
Great. So just a recap, Natalie. So what is the Sacred Money Archetype?
Right. It's just your patterns of dealing with money.
Great. And the benefits of knowing this is being able to understand how you are interacting with money on a daily timeline and how you are interacting with your partner as well. So just uncovering, the patterns, the challenges, and the gifts and strengths that you have, and living the strengths fully, but also, accepting those challenges and seeing, how you're affecting your own life and other people's lives that are affected by your money decisions, I think is really, really important. So we've covered what the 8 sacred money archetypes are. We did a quick little brief look at the money contract, and if you're interested in more information, I'll give you some of that in a moment about Natalie's course. And I guess the thing is that for me, as Natalie said when she was quoting Kendall, how you do money is how you do anything. And I think it's really important when you think about, are you miserly with money? I think you'll find that those people are miserly with money, they're a bit miserly with their love and their attention and, maybe their ability to share as well. And if you're someone who's abundant with money and someone, who's generous, then you have that kind of characteristic, showing up time and time again in your own life. So being able to identify these archetypes and the strengths and gifts that you have from your main 3 gives you also a really, I don't know, it gave me one, a real sense of being able to check about how I do other things in my life as well. So it all flows together, doesn't it, Natalie?
It does. And what it does is it leaves you in choice, right? Like information is power, because once you're aware, then you can choose how you want to be and what actions you want to take in regards to money and everything else.
Fantastic. Well, look, I just want to introduce the course that Natalie has very generously being able to share with us. So let me take you through the Manifesting Abundance course. Now, the course is really for those people who are ready to create a new path to financial freedom and increase the abundance in their life. Now, this just might be the fact that you have some short-term money goals, which might be saving a deposit on a property or the next holiday or school fees, or it might be something really long-term that you're really looking to address. It's also about understanding your strengths with money and, turn your financial challenges into opportunities. And as I shared with you, just being able to understand, some of the challenges that I was facing as an accumulator and the guilt that I was putting on my poor son when he was purchasing gifts that he had saved money for, really gave me a sense of understanding how I interacted with money with other people. It allows you to build more effective teams and partnerships and improve your relationships and uncover and learn how to transform the unconscious money blocks that have kept you stuck. Now, look, this is really important. I know that, a lot of scientific research shows that the way that you live your life is pretty much based on what you've learned and what you've been exposed to between the ages of 3 and 7. So any of you who have children, the conversations that your kids are hearing around the dinner table or what you're having with your partner is really shaping their future lives. So I really encourage you, if you're doing this or considering, understanding this a little bit more fully, that you understand how that could be actually shaping the entire family dynamic. And also in the course, if you're ready to walk away with concrete action steps to increase your profits and create financial freedom, then this course is definitely for you. It comes in 4 modules. I've been really fortunate of being able to spend an entire day with Natalie where we covered pretty much all of this. As I said, we didn't get a chance to go through those money sacred contracts for all of the archetypes, but it's really important that, for those of you who would like to take on this opportunity to learn more about this and learn more about yourselves, jump in and really get to understand that contract or setting as a mantra or a goal or something that you just have that comes up on your screen on your phone every day just to remind you is a really important way that you can look at the gifts and challenges that you have and bring them together to make you more abundant so that you can be a better person and live your dreams. So look, also in the course, Natalie's been really kind in including quite a few things here for us. She does a live Q&A call. She's got a private Facebook group, ongoing access to the course, and she has a bonus that she's thrown in as well for us, which is a 7 steps to living your purpose course. And this has got videos and lots more material in it. Look, it is only $297 Australian. So once you head over to the page, you'll see it's over there in the US dollars. Right at the very moment, until the end of 2019, Natalie has been so kind to actually share with us a code, which I should just type up on the screen so everyone can see it. But it is this. So, and I'm going to put it in caps so everyone can see it as well. But this code will get you essentially $25 off, and you can jump in and use that. So that's the code, pre-event. So if you're watching this in 2019, make sure if you go and jump into that course that you go and put in pre-event as well, and you will get a additional discount. So that is the link to jump into the course. Go to investorschoice.com.au/manifest if you're not happy for any reason whatsoever. Natalie will more than happily go and refund your money within the next 7 days of purchase. So Natalie, oh my gosh, we've covered so many things. I think it's really exciting, and just sharing one more of the, I'm going to get rid of that thing because it's confusing me completely. One more of the things that I wanted to share was the fact that you know, when I did this course, I went home and I was just so full of excitement. I was sitting there going, you know, I'm an accumulator, I'm a maverick, you know, I'm what else am I? Accumulator, maverick, nurturer. I was going to say connector, nurturer. And, you know, they were really, it really gave me a lot of clarity. But I thought, gosh, you know, my husband and I never fight about money. This is insane. And you had said, you know, having a maverick and you know, a maverick who spends money essentially, an accumulator saves money, and a nurturer who gives money away generously, so a really weird combination he hadn't seen before. And I made him go and do the same survey, and guess what? He's exactly the same as me.
That's why you never fight about money.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting there going, I know that, you know, in my investors' choice mortgages and the conversations I have weekly with people about money and, you know, mortgages and financial goals, etc., there's always a mismatch between the partners, and it has always been something that I've looked at and gone, gosh, I'm really fortunate that, you know, that's not me. But I reckon most people should do this survey before they get married, so that they can work out how they're going to have those conversations about money.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't mean they're not meant to be together, because chances are, yeah, it's way more common than not for people to not have the same archetypes. That's pretty normal. It's just having the information so you can work it out.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm going to thank you very much now for joining us. I'm going to head over and do the speedy recap. Please, if you are interested in taking up this amazing course and learning a little bit more about your money archetype, go to investorschoice.com.au, manifest/manifest, and we'll give you access. I'll put the details in the show notes here as well, and use that code of pre-event. But Natalie, thank you so much for beaming in all the way from Colombia and sharing with us your incredible archetypes and giving us an insight into how we could save money a little bit more.
Thank you, Jane. I loved being here and sharing with your people. Thanks for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Bye. Well, guys, let's jump into our speedy recap. So, if you have disagreements with the people that you love the most about money, maybe it is because you are speaking a different language. Now, we have uncovered 8 money archetypes. Now, with each money archetype, there comes strengths and gifts, and then challenges. Understanding what the top 3 money archetypes are for you means that you can understand how you can use your strengths and your gifts, but also work on your challenges. Now, here's the really important thing that you need to know about your money archetypes, and that is that if you interact with anyone else in the world, be it at work or be it at home, then often you're going to find that your money archetype is different from everyone else's. So what does that mean? Well, this can create conflict. This can create a lot of issues at work and at home. So understanding what your money archetype is and how you bring yourself to the world and you deal with money is often a issue when you have someone in your life, and especially a spouse who has a completely different money archetype. So I really suggest that you go and download the survey and do this not just yourself, but do it with your partner as well, or maybe even your whole work team, and go and have a look at what your money archetypes are. Check out the top 3, because they're essentially the board of directors that are going to be the ones making most of the decisions in your life. Now, if you're like me, it gave me an amazing insight on how I deal with money, not just for myself, but also with my son and my husband, and at work and with my work colleagues. And just having that extra insight gave me a lot of extra information. And I think once you actually have done the survey, you've gone back and listened to the strengths and the gifts and the challenges of each of these money archetypes, you're actually going to get a whole better idea about where you fit in. But it's also a bit of a game in actually watching your friends and family and trying to guess what they are as well. So I encourage you to head over to Learn with Jane Slacksmith at the Facebook page, watch the entire episode 6, which is going to go through all the money archetypes and give you a better understanding. And if you'd like to join Natalie with her course Manifesting Abundance, please go to www.investorstoys.com.au /manifest. And that is our speedy recap. As always, guys, it is an absolute pleasure to be with you. It's incredible to be able to share all of these things with you. And I look forward to talking to you next week.
And that's it for this week's First Home Buyers Show. And Jane will be back next time with more tips, tricks, resources and interviews.
See you then.